Hi, it's Bren. We're doing an episode of Things by Bren. Today we have Marilyn Chappel, and she has a non-for-profit organization that she helps prisoners. She actually goes into prisons and teaches them a class so they can come out and be a great citizen. So she is teaching classes to people who are going to be returning citizens to our community. And she does this all on her own. She's got some people that help her. She does have a lot of folks that volunteer and work with her, but she's the primary source behind this. She's the drive behind it. So Marilyn, tell us a little bit about you and why you started doing this. And we're doing this today also with the Kansas Coalition for Sentence and Prison Reform. She's on the Missouri side, but she's right here. She still tries to get into whatever prisons will let her in, Kansas and Missouri. So we're doing this in conjunction with the coalition.
Yes, thank you for having me, Brenda. I really appreciate the invitation. And just a little bit about me, my background has been in banking. And, so I worked my way from a teller to a vice president of a credit union. And I saw just the need of financial education to anybody who came in there. That was just something that was lacking, was the financial education. People were coming in for their needs and being turned away, and nobody was really telling them on how to come back in with a yes. And so I always just, I basically was like, God, if you ever gave me the opportunity to be able just to reach the community with financial education, then, I would just do it, and I would do it unto you. I would, give it all that I had. And so if you would have asked me probably 3 years ago, like, would you go into the prisons? I probably would have told you, no, or why should I? Right. And so over the years, God has really just really unveiled the purpose of going into the prison. My husband once was served time in prison. Today, he is now owner of an electrical contracting company, and I work beside him with that as well as running my non-for-profit. And so we sat down at the table one day, and we were just talking about some of our 5 to 10 year goals. And one of the things he had mentioned is being able to give back to men and women coming out of prison. And so that led me to be able to go into the prisons, with that vision, right? To be able to give them the tools and the resources to be able to be successful when they come out. And so through a organization called Growth Ministries, I collaborated with them, got into one of the prisons in Topeka, which is the women's prison there. And I was able to go in and teach them a financial curriculum. And it's a 6-week program transforming mind over money. And yeah, just awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. I'm
And it's
so
needed. And
excited about that.
Not just inmates, but people in general need that education. But when you've been
Absolutely.
taken out of the society and you've been locked away, you kind of lose touch with what reality is on the outside of those walls. So when you're coming back out, you need that help. You need to be reminded of, hey, this is important. This is what I'm going to have to do when I get out there. So for you to come back in and do that while they're still incarcerated is wonderful. What's the timeline that you tend to go in before they get out?
Within a year. So men and women less than 12 months of re-entering back into society, we want to reach them. We want to be able to give them that hope that they can be successful with making great financial decisions.
What do you typically have as far as the number of students that participate at any given time?
Sure. So we like to kind of cap it at like 20 to 25, because usually it's like 2 of us who will go in at a time. We don't just go in one person, but we'll go in 2 at a time, 2 or 3. And we'll serve 20 to 25, at a time. And then once that 6-week is up, and then we'll schedule another one. And so I know when I went to Cameron Prison for the first time, we actually had over 25, we had actually 28 people who signed up saying that they wanted to
That's
learn
wonderful.
more about financial literacy. And so that was very encouraging. Of course, we capped it out at 25, but those, those extra three was added onto the to the waiting list to come
Right.
in after that first program was up. So yeah,
Now, how do
I
you
mean,
get
when you think about it, I mean, these are people's, mothers, fathers,
right?
brothers,
Family members. Yes.
family members who,
Mhm.
and believe it or not, a lot of them were teaching the people back home when they would call back home, they were sharing what they learned
Oh, that's
in
good.
class. And
Yes.
so you just never know how far your reach is, until they actually share how they're being impacted. So
Right, right. Now, you said your husband had did some time. How long was he away from home?
he was away from home for about a year.
Okay. So you've
So
went through what these other folks have experienced, other family members. So when you're not just going in as an outsider to teach, you are a family member that went through the life of somebody that's been incarcerated. So you have some knowledge behind that so they can relate to you. Mhm. Looks like we
yeah, so this was before him and I met, but I have seen the after effects. So
okay.
once we married, and as he was better in his life and trying to make decisions and steps forward in his life, I've seen the after effects of his
Right.
past having to come back up. So for instance, here he was trying to start a business and trying to get some certifications. Well, some of those certifications and lending, they ask if you were a felon, or if you
Right.
are a felon, they ask you to list that. And so sometimes those were barriers that we had to overcome. And who likes to face their past again, even if it
Exactly.
was 20 years
Mhm.
later, right?
Right.
It always triggers something back up. And sometimes it even cause you to want to stop,
Yes.
and we're like, no, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going. But it takes a lot of encouragement to continue to keep pressing past some of those barriers, because your pasts do come back up that you have to face. But once again, you don't stop. You figure out, different ways on how you can overcome those barriers.
Absolutely, which is good. So you've seen that it's a needed thing that these folks need to have some education when they come back out, or a realization they might have already been educated, but it's a reminder of, hey, this is what's going to happen when you come out. This is what you need to do. But you're right. It doesn't matter if it happened 20 years ago or yesterday.
Yeah.
People do not want to accept that was in the past, and they want to hold it against you, and it's on applications, it's for loans, it's even on a life insurance application
Yeah,
if you've ever been convicted of a
absolutely.
crime. And when is enough enough? When is
That's
enough enough? And you
that's
know
right.
yeah, so you've been able to well, you've obviously accepted it because you married him, so you
That's
didn't let
right.
that stop you, and you probably have a wonderful life together. And his past has probably made him who he is today. And that's what people
Absolutely.
need to focus on, is they can change. And
That's
because
right.
they have transformed, they have become the better person that they are today. So now you're taking that back into the prisons and working with them. How hard is it to get in there?
Well, as far as trying to get in there, of course, you have to fill out some paperwork, and you have to take some classes before you can actually get in there.
Mhm.
And so it's not too hard. All they do is it just takes time. And of course, they do a background check to
Mhm.
make sure that they can allow you in there. But I'll tell you what, it's like one of the best things I could ever have done, in my life, is to go in and be able to give people hope.
Yes,
Just like you had stated, you said sometimes, that's all that people need, is that encouragement that they are not their past. And so one thing that I always make sure that I do is I make sure that I'm transparent. I
that's
go
very
in
good.
there and I share my story, because just because I have not been to prison, I can definitely say it was nobody but the grace of God that
Mhm.
um, allowed me to not be in there. I always tell
Right.
people that, sometimes is you just didn't get caught. If you ever drove drunk, maybe you just did not hit nobody. You just made it home by the grace of God, right? And
Right.
so, I always just make sure that I show compassion. I share my husband's story. I share about, even my life. I haven't always made the right decisions with my finances.
Nobody has. We've all made mistakes.
And so I always like to share. I know, right? And so it's just a matter if we want to share our stories. And so I'm all about transparency, and I share where my hiccups was. I had used to take out payday loans and was all wrapped up into that vicious cycle. And, and finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired, right?
And did
And
something about it.
was able to turn my life around. And, a lot of times some of the things that our hiccups when it comes to our finances. Sometimes it's self-inflicted. Basically some of the decisions that you make. And so one of mine was gambling,
Mm,
and I found myself gambling away the money that took care of my needs, right?
right.
And now I'm having to go borrow to pay for my needs.
Right.
So thank God that I was able to get that turned around, right? And delivered from gambling. But sometimes we just need somebody to help us face
Mm,
some of those hiccups. And sometimes that means to dig deep so we can uproot. And that's one of
right.
the things that exceeds
And gambling is an addiction.
expectations Incorporated does. And
Yes.
that's our nonprofit organization, is we help people. It is, and so and I always like to say, addictions don't always have to be drugs and drinking,
No,
right?
they don't.
And
That's right.
alcohol, but it can be as little as, food. It could be eaten,
Yes. It can be,
so
and I
those can
have
be
that
little
problem.
addictions.
But you're right, and even addiction can be a form of a mindset, the way you think about yourself. Um, it comes in so many different forms, and people tend to just want to, when you hear the word addict, they instantly think drugs and alcohol. They don't
Yep.
think about many other things. And bottom line is, sometimes people don't even need to go to prison just because they were an addict. There could have been some other help out there for them. And our society tends to just throw them away, put them behind bars, lock them up, and forget about them.
Yeah.
And that's just unfortunate, because there's a lot of really good people that have been behind bars that have come out and been contributing successful citizens of the community. And some people you might not even know were a felon, except for social
Yeah.
media. Of course, we
I
you
know,
can find
right?
anything out. But my point is that some of these folks don't even have the look that they were in there. We have this image that they're coming out with tattoos all over them, on their face and on their neck and on their arms and all over their body, and that's just not true. That's just not true. They are all walks of life, just like everybody out on the street. There are
That's right.
whites, blacks, Mexicans, there's Asians, there's every race that you can imagine in there. People with tattoos, people without tattoos, people with piercings, people with nasty violent backgrounds, people who just were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they're all
That's
there
right.
living together, just like we are right now here on the streets. And bottom line is, we're still people. We still have a value, we still have a worth. And
That's it.
I am so thankful that you are going in and teaching these classes, because some of these people, and I just know from experience, don't even have a high school education. They get wrapped up in life right as a young adult. They get put behind bars, and they're coming out now late 20s, early 30s, and they don't know how to succeed in society. They don't know anything about banking or a checking
No.
account or having to pay bills or having to save a paycheck back. They don't know how to do this. So this is a very good thing that you're doing. What is the name of your organization, and how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the name of our organization is Exceeds Expectations Incorporated. So
Mhm.
we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization who teaches financial literacy as well as personal development. And people can reach us by going to www.letsexceed.org. That is our short version, where people can remember it. And you can email us. You can go to info@exceedsexpectations.org, and you can contact us that way as well.
Okay. Now, how do you earn? how does the company survive? Do you take donations? Do you tell us a little bit about that? How can people help you?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking that. And so we have been surviving off of individual donations. We have been blessed to have sponsors and donors who believe in our mission to reach individuals, whether they're youth or adults, because we like to bridge that gap, from the youth not going into prison, but being able to give them, three pillars: financial literacy, leadership, and community involvement. So when we can even reach them to keep them from going into prison, that is part of our mission as well. But our individual donorship has been helping us to survive. We have also other organizations and companies who have also been sponsors of some of our events, as well as just been donating.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to hear that you have contributors and that it's available to the public as well. So we're going to,
Yes.
when we put this out, we'll let people know that they can go to your sites and donate and get in touch with you. And if you have a passion to help and you live in the Kansas City area, reach out. Maybe she could use you as a volunteer. If you have some knowledge in this type of field and want to help, please contact myself, contact Marilyn, and we'll get you in touch with where you need to go and what you need to look forward to doing in this organization. And most importantly, just remember that inmates are people too. They are just like you and me. In fact, I was
That's
one.
right.
And they need support, they need love, and they deserve second chances. And if somebody's really trying to change, they want to change their life, and I think we need to allow them to show us that they can without the criticism. And that's just my little nugget of advice for today. But Marilyn, thank you so much for doing the show. And I really appreciate what all you're doing. I know it takes a lot of time and effort, and it takes a lot of love, a lot of passion, and that's needed. We don't see a lot of that today. It's all about me, and how am I going to benefit from this? And you're out there wanting to help people who have no help. Some of them don't have any hope, and some of them don't even have family when they come out. So this is needed. It's absolutely needed.
Yes.
So thank you
Thank
for
you for
joining us
allowing me to
today.
be on your
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, you can reach out to her. I'll post this up on all my social media. You can go to Brenda Ringwood anywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and find me, and I can get you in touch with her. You guys have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.